Ain't nobody smooth like me. I don't flash C notes, that's too high key. Keep it all down low, that's who I be. Levitating on the stage when I move my feet. Alright, look, good guy, didn't know that he can move.
What's up, guys? Before we jump into today's episode, we are super happy to announce our partnership with the dip alternative, the original CBD pouch, Cannadips. Cannadips is the nation's leading tobacco and nicotine-free dip. It helps you quit the bad stuff, but provides you with a discreet and fast-acting CBD dosage on the go. Cannadips are the ultimate discreet dose. You got no smoke, you got no smell, allowing you to throw one in on the field, on the golf course, in the weight room, or whether you're just looking to kick back and relax. No more playing sneak and chew with your family. Step up your dip game and chew on the all-natural product made from the hills of Humboldt County, California, brought all the way to you guys here in Minnesota. So head to CannadipCBD.com, use our code PCG for 20% off your entire order, and evolve your dip game with the original CBD dip pouch, Cannadips. You're not sure what to try? Cannadips has got you covered with their original Cali Roll, and it gives you all 5 core flavors to help you find the right one. So again, head to CannadipCBD.com, use that code PCG for 20% off your entire order, and with that, let's head to today's episode.
Teeing off at hole number 1, we have the guy who's always dressed to the nines, and his wife calls him a 10, Mikey Peej. And now we got Paul Johnson teeing off, known as Peej, and he's known as a 7.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Public Course Golf Podcast, episode 13, lucky number 13, as some people say.
Yeah.
We got a bit of a breaking news type of episode, some pretty big topics that we're going to jump into in not only golf, but also Minnesota sports with some Vikings players. So we got kind of a big day here. Of course, our usual top 5 slang terms. We got to hear from our brand new sponsor you guys heard from last week, which is Cannadips. We'll hear from them again today. And then, yeah, we'll jump right into the kind of the big topic in golf right now, which is the LIV PGA merger, which I think everybody's still shockingly confused about.
I'm trying to decide where they lie on the spectrum of what they believe in, their personal beliefs, what for the goodness to for the game of golf, where they fall on that line, and I think it kind of ebbs and flows as you get more information, and maybe as we continue to get more information, you're going to find yourself on one side or the other, or right in the middle, or whatever else. So flip-flopping, yep.
I think it's at first glance. Oh, there we go.
You just pierced through your Capri Sun.
There you go, Mike.
Yeah, these are some. We're gonna have a little. We figured we saw these in the fridge.
We're filming a earlier in the day podcast,
so we're going with Capri Suns.
So here, cheers. 19th hole. If you're a child.
That's pretty good.
Right, I haven't had a Capri Sun in ages.
How many ounces are in this thing?
What they need to do is they need to cut a little slit in it, put a little vodka in there.
There you go. You could just it could be, you could just kind of drink half of it and then
fill it with vodka,
and then patch the hole.
I've seen a hack where people have, I don't remember if they opened it from the top or the bottom, and then they used like a flat iron that girls use to straighten their hair, and resealed it.
Oh.
And then put in booze.
Perfect. Just so when you go to the zoo and hey, everybody, let's take out our hey kids, it's a birthday party. Everyone want a Capri Sun, and then we have the adult ones.
Make sure you keep the ones separate. Kids, don't do any of the things we're talking about to your Capri Suns.
No.
We're not giving good ideas around here, but
exactly.
So yeah, we're going to start off our episode as we always do. If this is your first time checking out an episode, we'd like to welcome you to our set of the Public Course Golf Podcast. We typically do a top 5 of our favorite golf slang terms every single week. And again, we have 5. We had none submitted. So.
Yeah, I mean, we encourage you to submit, but we like to look them up too. But if you got some, just even if you think they're silly or dumb or whatever, that's kind of what we do.
Most of the ones we talk about are
silly
stupid
and dumb, yeah.
But so if you got one, maybe you guys just kind of think are funny, and please drop those in the comments down below. Or you can even feel free to shoot us an email. Our email address is in the description box, but it's just publiccoursegolf@gmail.com. So feel free to shoot us an email if maybe you're embarrassed because it is extra silly, whatever you may Whatever is comfortable for you, please do.
It's kind of how I live my life. I'm extra embarrassed always.
I'm just a silly man. So what I am going to do is I'm going to fire one of these guys up from our sponsor at Canadips. If you guys have never had these before, obviously you heard the ad read about it, but they're pretty easy to use. It's just a very it's like a fiber pouch filled with CBD, no nicotine, no tobacco. Take that bad boy, throw it in your lip. You can go lower shelf, upper shelf, whatever your preference is. I go bottom, and throw it in, let it hang out. You're not spitting. You don't got a spitter. It's not disgusting like the other stuff. So with that, let's jump into this week's rendition of slang terms. Number 1 this week is called Captain Kirk. PJ, tell the people about Captain Kirk.
Well, it's when you hit a ball that's gone to somewhere that's never been gone before. It's blasted into oblivion.
It's happened a lot. On the public
Yeah. You Captain Kirked that when you shanked it off the left and it went on top of the house. And then you don't know where it is, or when you hit it into the yard on what hole is that in Wedgwood where you come up to that. It's kind of there's houses right there. Sometimes we've hit it in that yard almost.
So that'd be
you've used your 3-wood really good on that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that 4? No,
because 4. Yeah. That'd be 4 because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's that par 5. There's the couple of
I've skipped it across the water before.
Yeah,
and you've hit a good shot.
Yeah, you've had a lot of good ones right there.
But you can hit it in someone's yard and you don't know where it went. Right. And you could just say that's the end of it. And in Arizona, I think I Captain Kirked a shot when I hit it right into a cactus that was tall. And I don't know if other shots have been there before. Probably not. But there was no way I was going to get that ball.
I'd love to see if it's still there.
It probably still is. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, because you can't mess with cactuses.
No. Sure. Now that we said that, I'm pretty sure you have a felony in Arizona.
But yeah, that's happened before where you just hit a shot and you can't find it. I think it's happened where when you hit it out and it's really frustrating because sometimes it's a good shot.
You're right. And then when you get up there and you just have no idea where it is. It's just gone. I bet a lot of number 2s.
Yeah. You disgust me. Go on.
Yeah.
Number 2 on today's list, I bet does this a lot.
Yeah.
So you got Captain Kirk as 1. Number 2 this week is a duffer. PJ, tell the people about a duffer.
A duffer. Well, a duffer is a new golfer, a new and inexperienced golfer. So, someone who's wet behind the ears, just got the clubs out. You can call them a duffer, and you'd have to explain that to them. And it's not meant. I don't think it's meant to be demeaning, but it does sound kind of funny.
It does sound a bit demeaning.
No, hey, you guys out playing golf? Yep, it's just me and my duffer.
It's me and my buddy Tom, who's a duffer.
Oh, a duffer. Hey, I know some duffers. Yeah, relatives. No, not a last name.
I know a lot of people actually that have made the transition from in the last few years, and this maybe they've played a little bit when they were younger, but I feel like the big transition you see, especially in the area we're in right now, is people making the switch from softball to golf.
Oh yeah.
And you get away from that softball schedule and playing, how many games a week. And I feel like there's been a lot of those softball players have transitioned into golf, which has been really cool to see because a lot of them are buddies of mine that I've known for a long time. And now I played softball, I played baseball, but I've played golf a lot longer, and that was always my preference. Mm-hmm. And so to see some of those guys transition over now is pretty cool.
Well, you were saying with baseball and softball, when they come on, when you come from that, it's a different type of swing, and then he kind of messes with you. Like, I'm even hesitant to take Will, my son, out playing golf yet because he's playing baseball so much right now. I don't want to mess with what's happening. But, yeah, you're right, kind of a transition. Then you can almost be considered a duffer even if you've played a long time just because you haven't got the experience of this season yet. Mm-hmm. So you're inexperienced for this season, not inexperienced for all golf, just this season.
Yeah. So, like with Will specifically, I don't think I would yet. Like, we got to go watch this last weekend and watch him play, and I mean, you can tell he's pretty dialed in right now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mess with that.
Like, number 3 this week is casual water.
I think there's multiple ways you could probably get casual water. But PJ, tell the people about casual water.
Well, the casual water, we have it here. It's where after a big storm, and I don't know where it was recently, there was just poured 8 to 10 inches. The storm did not move. Where was that?
just sat over the top.
I saw it on the news. It was like, I don't know, I forget which town it was, but it was in Minnesota here, and it just did not move. And all that standing water probably was on their golf course, and so that standing water that's not supposed to be there, your ball goes into it. You get to move your ball out.
No penalty.
No penalty on that. So I think what we need to do is keep like a big old jug of water in the back of our.
Just dump it out.
Just dump like oh, that's a bad shot. I want to move my ball. It's got. Oh, I'm right behind a tree. I don't have a good sliver of hope. So
nice.
I'm going to dump water here. Look at there's. What am I supposed to do?
I don't
need to move it out. It's casual water.
This is so weird. We've been in a drought. I don't understand.
Yeah. And then you're not supposed to take a leak on the course, but let's face it, public course golfers.
Yeah, it
when
happens.
nature calls, you got to find your nearest bush and take care of business. But you could make some standing water next to your ball there, and then you could.
You know what would be
the casual water that you accidentally had. You had to go to the bathroom.
You know what would be a bummer is if somebody casual watered a tree, and then you were behind the group behind. So your ball rolled in, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, my ball is in standing water over here. So you hit it out, and it just like smells like asparagus. So it's like,
you're in for
it's
it.
very scenty pea.
Yeah, you're in for that one. You're in for that one.
Number 4 this week is something, I know I do this. Maybe a little bit less this year because I felt a little bit more confident in some of my higher wedges. But so I feel like I maybe did that a little bit more last year and years in the past, but I definitely still do it. And number 4 this week is a Texas wedge. PJ, tell the people about a Texas wedge.
Texas wedge. I'm not sure why it's called Texas, but maybe it's because this is the biggest state, and you go big or go home in Texas. So you're on that green. You're off the green, but you think you're close enough to the green where it's like, I'm not going to use my pitching wedge. I'm going to try to putt it from there.
Yeah.
And typically you'll see it, if you're on the frog hair.
Yep.
And you're, let's say there's the fringe of the frog hair is larger.
Yeah.
Or even like on the fairway leading up.
Yep.
Where it's pretty well cut. Mm-hmm. You could. It probably, depending on where the hole placement is, it might be better to use your putter. So you use that Texas wedge, and you do that more than I do. Yeah. I trust my pitching wedge more, just because maybe it's just more. I think it's just fun to do that.
Yeah.
But you probably put it closer by using your putter.
It definitely times it's helped, especially when I was less confident in it, and even instead of using like my 51, my 56, I would use my regular pitching wedge, and you can't get as much underneath it or put any movement on it as much as, I don't know, maybe you don't really put any movement, but you feel like you can. Mm-hmm. And so then you're not getting much of a backspin, or you're not getting it to catch at all, so it would over-roll and roll off the back of the green. That happened to me a lot, so that was why I did switch to my putter, but I don't know, now that I've extended these clubs, I've been really happy with the wedges. It's a lot more comfortable.
Well, it still would be fun. We were talking about Texas wedge. Now this is kind of an offshoot, but this wasn't a Texas wedge. But the last name of Taylor, who just won the RBC with a 72-foot putt for eagle on a 4th playoff hole. Talk about that. That's a Texas wedge almost. 72 foot. He was on the green, but still,
still from literally so it obviously is already one of the biggest greens on the course. 72 feet for a green is massive.
Yeah.
But he must have been like very edge to very edge.
Yeah.
That was wild to watch. And then his Canadian buddy who was celebrating got absolutely ransacked by a security guard.
Which came from Minnesota, the Minnesota security guard who was with the protesters about Glenn Taylor's use of chickens.
Oh, yeah, last year.
Last year she ran on the court, and then that security guard just, boom. So it was hit really close to home when we watched that. It's like, we know what that's like.
What a weird deal that was last year. And it overrolled into the playoffs, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Right? And like the one girl super glued her hand to the floor.
Yeah, and the one girl, she chained herself to the
basket.
Basket, yeah.
What a weird deal that was.
I guess if it got attention, but it brought attention to a series where you know, the Wolves aren't very good, and so it made us even look worse. I mean, it's like, oh, not only do we stink, but now look who's at our games.
Trying to, it's almost like we're trying for some distraction to take away from the fact that even though we should have beat Memphis, in that series, that's bullshit.
No kidding. But anyways, back to the slang terms. We got off a little tangent there, but that Texas wedge came into play for the tournament over the weekend, and well, you know what's in here? What you just drank has gone to its final resting spot in your body.
Which brings us to number 5 this week, which is watery grave. PJ, tell them about a watery grave.
Oh, the watery grave. That's when you hit it in the water, and that sadly we all need to say a prayer. You know, we all take our black polo, put it on.
Moment of silence.
Moment of silence. This is the final resting place of the ball. So this is their watery grave. So happen all too often. And what's frustrating about that is sometimes it's just so murky you can't retrieve your ball. So it truly is the final resting place.
So have you ever done like any pond diving for golf balls?
I've only used, my dad had with his one like big long extension deal for his golf bag. You could like just kind of fish around.
Yeah.
But I've never actually gone into that water for fear of getting some sort of disease that makes me sit on the toilet for like 6 days.
Well, we have done it. Luckily, we didn't
sit on the toilet for 6 days.
No, we didn't. Luckily, but
you didn't create casual water somewhere. Wait, that's brown. Oh, okay. Anyway,
I will admit though, it was pretty questionable. The golf course is no longer around anymore. It was towards the end of after they had announced it was closing, and so we at night we all took a 5-gallon pail. We went into the different water hazards. And we each filled up a 5-gallon pail, and I'm not lying, 6 minutes.
That's
and we
crazy.
all had, some of the balls you could tell were down there for a long time.
Sure.
So we did a little exhuming of the balls.
Well, now too bad the balls aren't magnetic because we could go magnet fishing.
Right.
For balls, just like bring up.
That
this
would be
whole
amazing. Bring up a whole cluster.
And some of those balls, like it could be from the package. You teed off, goes in the water. One hit.
Shot.
Yep.
But before we jump into the second half of today's episode and talk about the live, we talk about Dalvin Cook, we want to hear from today's video sponsor, which is Canadips. Canadips is the nation's leading tobacco and nicotine-free dip. It helps you quit the bad stuff, but provides you with a discreet and fast-acting CBD dosage on the go. Canadips are the ultimate discreet dose. You got no smoke, you got no smell, allowing you to throw one in on the field, on the golf course, in the weight room, or whether you're just looking to kick back and relax. No more playing sneak and chew with your family. Step up your dip game and chew on the all-natural product made from the hills of Humboldt County, California, brought all the way to you guys here in Minnesota. So head to CanadipCBD.com, use our code PCG for 20% off your entire order, and evolve your dip game with the original CBD dip pouch, Canadips. You're not sure what to try? Canadips has got you covered with their original Cali Roll, and it gives you all 5 core flavors to help you find the right one. So again, head to CanadipCBD.com, use that code PCG for 20% off your entire order, and now back to the podcast. All right, now that you guys heard from our friends over at Canadips, well, actually you just heard from us, but talking about our friends over at Canadips.
We're our own friends.
We are our own friend. Hey, friend.
Hey, friend. Nice to meet you.
We're going to jump into the hot topic in golf right now. We've moved on from our Capri Suns. It's now
Capri Sun to Liquid Aloha.
Liquid Aloha, Mr. Kona. We're going to jump into the hot topic in golf, which is the merger of the Live Golf Tour and the PGA Tour, and also the European Golf Tour.
Yeah.
All 3 of them are now under one. Well, potentially.
Yeah. There's a framework.
Yeah, a framework deal. Nothing definitive. But it's just, I think it caught everybody, including golfers, by absolute surprise. I mean, a lot of people still, including myself, like this, what we were just reading now explains it a bit and kind of gives you a little bit more clarity, but it still just seems so weird, so messy, so I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, if we break it down, kind of what we understand of it here, it's that we're trying to figure out why do it. Like, what are the benefits for golf by doing this? And is it always right to follow money? Do we get in bed with another country that's known for being bad with human rights just because there's a better, more financial support for the game of golf. That's where we're trying to figure this out, and because of that, and the players didn't know, and they just all of a sudden announced it. It kind of feels like you think about in any business setting, if there's going to be a change, typically there's kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
And then usually there's transparency between people who are higher ups and the people that work for. At least you hope well-run businesses are like that. And then people are kind of, even if they don't agree with it, they are at least kind of led to believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So they can prepare and analyze and kind of internalize what's going on. Well, in this case, it's just happened.
Especially with something that's already such a polarizing split of LIV and PGA, to then really not voice any bit of talk to, there's been a handful of the guys that have been a little more vocal than others from PGA. You got Rory's the biggest, I would say. Tiger, I feel like has kind of pretty vocal behind the scenes. Like he was offered $800 or $825 million to go to LIV, said no. But he isn't terribly outspoken about it. I would say Rory's kind of the biggest advocate for PGA and opposing the LIV Tour. Everybody I feel like has said a little bit, but I mean, especially him. He said he got a call the morning of. He got a text from the guy the night before. He said, "Can I call you in the morning?" So he called him at 6:30 in the morning, told him what was going to happen. At the same time, the news broke.
Well, and it speaks to the motivation of what this is, because there's the Saudi, the PIF. What's that stand for? The People's the
People's Investment Fund, or
it's the Yasar guy.
Yeah.
Public Investment Fund.
Yep.
Which is run by Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and that's who funds LIV Golf. They've been known, and also that Yasar, the one that
Yasir Al
Rumian. They've been accused of being kind of what do they call it here? They call it a sports washing endeavor, where they're trying to. The Saudi government is purchasing a lot of different sports organizations to try to make themselves look better, despite their human rights violations. So LIV Golf's one of those. They also have a stake in some pro clubs in Saudi Arabia. They also they own the Premier League club Newcastle United, and
and that's from what, Bleacher Report?
Bleacher Report, yeah. And so it's like, if their motivation is that a good motivation, or is that them trying to cover themselves up? And then it plays into then, are there rules or are there laws when you try to? This article kind of brings this up. They're saying here at the end that let's see. So
and we're taking all this information from other sources.
Because we're trying to understand it, and from places that have this is from the New York Times.
So this is the New York Times. That's Bleacher Report. So we're reading the information from other places. This is so like right now we're just kind of relaying the information you guys can find online. It's not necessarily like, I mean, we've thrown some of our opinions in.
Well, whenever there's an agreement between two big entities, are they following all the rules? Especially a foreign entity, for foreign business dealings, are there certain laws and things that need to be followed? And I think some of these senators and some of these political leaders are wondering. Some say government should be out of golf. Others are saying if we're going in with the Saudis on this, are we following all the rules to make sure that we're not doing something that is illegal?
Yeah.
And has that been the framework's there? But has that really been checks and balanced?
Yeah.
Have they figured out that where they can say this is totally I mean, morality comes into it.
Right.
I mean, you got to think about, is PGA concerned about not being able to support itself? Is that why they want to make sure we go with the Saudis? Because there's abundance of money that's going to make golf be always there and never be something that can't be supported financially.
I would be shocked.
I don't know how. Yeah.
I would be shocked if the PGA had any sort of a financial worry with how big golf is and has gotten. But you never know. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, if you will, that we have no idea about. So, I mean, maybe. If any of you guys have heard anything else or know of any other articles, please drop those in the comments down below, because we'd love to hear
where you stand on the continuum. We're not saying anybody's wrong or right necessarily at this point. We're just trying to gather more information because it really feels like, how is this really good for the game of golf? Or even our articles don't really say this is good for the game of golf because it does this. It's more like explaining that here's what would happen.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knows really at this point, and hopefully they can come to, before that distinctive agreement's done, there can kind of be some common ground and like explanation for why this was the case. Maybe there's a very valid reason none of us know about.
Yeah.
Or is it for a reason that they don't really care for anybody to know about? That's why it hasn't came out yet.
Maybe it's because they want golf to be globalized even more. Well, I think it was already globalized, but maybe, I guess some people are concerned, this is, by globalizing it in this way, does America still promote and have golf the same? Or now, are there things that on this governing board that is going to be created, where PGA still has more of the votes? We saw that, but by doing this, are we somehow short-sighting or being short-sighted about what this will actually do for America with golf?
Right.
And we want it to be a global sport, but when you have people like, and I'm not here to promote a political ideology on this, but when you have people that say it's a big, beautiful thing that we're doing this, who maybe have been corrupt in other ways,
yeah, right? That's a good
politicians, then do you want to trust their opinion on it? Right. That they think it's great? I don't.
It's such a
Rory's kind of against it all the way, and I tend to always, at least the way he frames things, I feel like I trust that guy. I don't know what it is, but.
And even when he gives his opinion, which is one thing I really appreciate, is he gives his opinion and then he gives kind of the explanation of why. And I think there's people that can argue of like, I don't know, this is a really big kind of ball of worms or ball of wax, if you will, but like for one person, what's one person's opinion about it? I mean, he holds a lot of weight in the game of golf. And he's very open. He knows he's on the platform he's on. He knows he carries that weight in golf. And just like anything else, there's certain people that you're going to trust within, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's, within those sports, you got a president of like the CPA, the Players Association. Yep. Chris Paul is the voice for or was for the NBA.
Yeah.
He kind of holds that same message. He's been in the league for a long time. He's been very successful in the league. He kind of is the voice of it, so you can kind of trust that voice. It's the same thing with Rory and the PGA. He's kind of the, outside of Tiger Woods, he's one of the poster children for golf, I would say.
Was this inevitable, though? Did they want to say, we don't want to have this polarizing problem in the game of golf because that's going to inevitably create a war, or it's going to absolve it because it gets to be so contentious? Does that absolve the game of golf? And they think, well, we need to come together somehow. So we'll come together. We always will be financially supported. We create a governing board where the PGA has more vote and say and they still stay nonprofit, but the TV and all that stuff is for profit, and the Saudis get to be a part of that. But still the voting happens where it's more PGA vote. Is that right? So that they can still be the leaders in making big decisions, but also include everybody, and everybody gets what they want. It's a lot to it, and I think it's more than what we would ever. We could spend several podcasts.
Oh yeah.
On this kind of conversation because it's huge for the game of golf.
Yeah.
And we're just we want you to be on our podcast or to be liking and subscribing and going with what we're doing. But we also know that. We'll look back on what we're doing here now when we're 50 years later.
Yeah.
And this will be something that was really important to the game of golf. It's like historical kind of.
Right. Yeah, this is a very, very large historical marker in golf. I think it's still, again, is it a good historical marker? Is it a bad historical marker? I don't think anybody knows yet at this point. Hopefully we'll have some more answers soon then we can all kind of formulate our own opinions. Because having two sides of the story, or two opinions, I guess, that's kind of what makes, you look at politics, we're going to keep all sorts of politics out of the podcast, but you have opinions on one side of the spectrum, and you have opinions on the other side, some in the middle here and there, but that's what makes things go, I guess. So, I don't know. I'll be really curious to hear more of this information and be able to formulate. I think based on this information, we can kind of all formulate a very similar opinion.
Well, I think a lot of people could find themselves not just knowing how to have an opinion because they just they probably want to do what's best for golf. You know, that's why we're on this channel. That's why we do this channel. That's why we want to promote golf. It's awesome.
Yeah,
right.
It's weird.
Well, did you say
it puts people in a weird spot?
Did you say it had to be voted on still? Is that what you?
Yeah. So based on from the New York Times, it had said that
It was towards the top, wasn't it? Still has to.
Okay, so there's a policy board is made up of 5 independent directors. They will help negotiate the deal. The board also includes 5 players. You have Patrick Cantlay, Charlie Hoffman, Peter Malnati, Rory McIlroy, and Webb Simpson. Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA, said this is only a framework agreement, not a definitive agreement. Many details still need to be decided, and the definitive agreement will need to be voted on before it can go forward. The rest of 2023, all tours will remain separate. All tournaments will continue as scheduled. And then after that, it says, who knows? So I think that it's same thing as kind of what, we've taken the information we've had. It seems like all it did was murky things up. I don't understand the point of not telling anybody and then having it just as a framework agreement. So it's like you put this out by not telling anybody, but then you try to backpedal and like, no, it's fine. We're still working out details. Yes. It just seemed like a very messy.
Are they buying time to then? Is it a way to buy time to really make it be right, as opposed to, and also if it was, they were suing PGA.
Yeah,
and there was not a lot of, it wasn't coming together.
No,
and then all of a sudden it did. So
very quickly.
Yeah, what happened where it just all of a sudden flipped and we have a framework and here we go?
Because the litigation's all as part of the deal. The litigation's done. It's settled. There's just no more lawsuit. And
was the PGA going to lose the lawsuit? And maybe this is what we don't know. Was the PGA going to lose the lawsuit? And so by doing this, they avoided that negative attention. But they still got Liv and all the Saudis to be a part of it. But then made sure that they had more of the governing body on the board.
Right.
So that you end. Was it because they were going to lose a lawsuit? I don't know.
I think that's that's something that hopefully we'll be able to hear soon. In the meantime, everybody can kind of formulate their opinions. And again, if you guys maybe have some articles of information you read, we definitely want to hear your opinions on it, and we'd love to hear your opinions down below. But also articles.
Well, this is a huge thing that for Public Course Golf, our podcast. If we're not talking about this, what's happening, then we're not doing you guys a service for listening to us.
Right. That's why we're here. And obviously, you guys have probably seen this elsewhere, but hopefully, you can get a little bit more information from listening to us.
And maybe more relatable because you got 2 guys who love to play golf that aren't, in the thick of it, writing about it. Maybe you can identify with us and kind of feel the confusion that we feel.
Yeah.
And maybe that might be something for us to have a conversation about because we're all in the same kind of mess of it. We're not the experts of things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So being able to get all the information from every side is what we're hoping to do. So if you guys can share that with us, that'd be great. Hopefully we can share information with you guys. So with this kind of being a very big breaking news, polarizing type of topic in golf, that kind of took up a lot of our time today. But for viewers who have watched us in the past, we like to cover our hometown sports. We like to talk about not only golf, but football, basketball, baseball, hockey, women's basketball. It doesn't matter. We like to talk about all things Minnesota sports. And there are some really big things happening in the landscape in terms of the Minnesota Vikings, with Dalvin Cook being cut. Then now you got Danielle Hunter holding out, Jefferson's looming contract. They're all really big topics that we want to cover, and we're going to make sure we cover. So be sure to tune in to next week's episode when we jump back into the purple side of things, and not quite even so much just the granddaddy perp, thanks for Canadips, but to the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll cover some more topics. Well, tomorrow is when all the players report for mandatory minicamp, taking Danielle Hunter out because Yeah, we're going to
We'll
get
get
into
into
that next week.
Yeah.
So right now what we're going to do, though, is we're going to head way over to the putting green, see if I can carry last week's victory, slowly catch up to PJ, because, again, he is running the board on tic-tac-toe. So now we're going to head over to the green to play a little...
And get our Texas wedges out and play a little tic-tac-toe, baby.
Oh, hi, welcome back, everybody. If this is your first time watching the Public Course Golf Podcast, you know when we film episodes in studio, we like to play a little game we call tic-tac-toe. We got our putting green, we got our tic-tac-toe board. We legitimized, if you watched last week, you know we moved away from our painter's tape, and we got stickers that we use. So we alternate shots. If your ball lands in the said spot, you put your sticker down, and you try to get a tic-tac-toe. Paul is up 5-2. Let's see if we can carry this victory from last week, and let's get to our game of tic-tac-toe. That one looks good.
Ain't nobody smooth like me. I don't flash, see no
There it is, just barely.
I'll keep with the script.
All right.
Going with the script.
So every once in a while, says I'll have like your shot will be twice in a row.
Oh, does that count? Are you on the line?
I don't know. Come look. I don't think it is. No?
I don't think the surface is touching the line, but
Nope.
go, 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 go. Oh, it stopped.
That's too hard.
You know it's gonna stop. Wow.
Stay in the middle. There we
In the
go.
middle?
I think it is. Yeah. It's in the
Oh,
middle.
wow.
All
That's
right.
an important one to get.
Back in. Ooh, there you go.
Oh,
Got some mustard under there. Oh, fuck. Oh, I think that's in.
it is.
Well, this reverted back to my old ways. We had a very slow start for both of us.
Yeah.
And then you just piled it on. So, Peej,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you,
Another
sir.
victory.
Yep.
Two games to 6 now.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. We'll be back at it next week. Hopefully you guys liked today's episode, this hot topic of the LIV PGA merger. Again, if you have any articles or your opinions, please drop those in the comment section down below. And also, if you do have some slang terms,
Yeah.
we would love to hear from you guys. We had a couple submissions early on, and then now we haven't for a couple weeks. So hopefully, like you said before, people are just thinking, getting some good ones conjured
Even if
up.
they're they play off of ones we've said and they're just a different way of saying it, go ahead and let us know. We've had that happen before where people give us kind of something we've kind of already said, but it's just a different. It's just got one word different, or it means the same thing. It's just a different word.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So now that we finished our round, we're going to head back into the 19th hole this week, which is brought to you by Kona Big Wave, Liquid Aloha. Cheers, buddy, to another big episode. Be sure to tune in next week for the Minnesota Vikings talk. Then we'll be back on the tic-tac-toe board.
Because we got some nice ideas, things that are going to happen this summer with playing golf certain places and maybe doing some podcasts on site those places. So we got good content.
Some special guests joining us on the podcast.
So we got things coming up with this summer, and so we look forward to continuing this. So please make sure to like and subscribe. The new podcast,
The new channel.
The new channel.
The new channel. So you guys are watching this week. I am going to start to upload now. You guys will see. So we upload our podcast every Wednesday, but probably on Saturday, Sundays. For the next few weeks, I'm going to slowly put our old episodes back up. None of them outside of some maybe storylines carrying from one week to another. There's not necessarily an order you maybe need to watch them in. So we're going to re-upload them to the channel so that everything will be on the new channel. So again, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Hit the red subscribe button on that channel. Cheers, buddy, to another episode. Catch you guys next week. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks to Canadips for sponsoring today's episode and this channel. And with that, we'll catch you guys next Wednesday. Bye.